Uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom! G'day PUBG Mobile humans and PUBG Mobile YouTube. I'm Bushka and today's video is about the Tommy gun. We're going to be making a video about this gun because it really needs an update as to where it sits in the meta, how it compares to some of its fellow peers like the UMP, the Uzi 9mm, etc, etc, etc. Why I actually quite like this gun and why I've come to really enjoy running it and actually run it a lot more now than I used to. And a whole host of other bits and pieces about the Tommy gun. If you like these videos, if you like weapons guides, if you like a little bit of giggle in your day, then why not subscribe, do your level best. I don't mind numbers. I hope you like numbers. Numbers release endorphins, and endorphins make me happy. And if I'm happy, everybody's happy. Well, I don't think that's how it works, but we'll do our best. First off, let's start with some of the stats. Always good to know exactly where you're coming from. And the Tommy gun is pretty standard in terms of SMG basics, like bullet speed and CQC, but it does have some very interesting numbers on it. Let's have a look at those. Now, the rate of fire is 674 rounds per minute, the base damage is 43, and the time to kill is 0.267. The time to kill and the base damage are excellent. The base damage is the highest of any SMG, and the limb damage of 25 is the highest limb damage of any SMG. And remember, SMGs are balanced around that limb damage, or explosive damage, as they call it, PUBG Mobile, because that limb damage is great in CQC and hipfire situations where you don't have to ADS. So you might not hit center mass, but you're still doing great damage. Think about it this way. A M416 will do about 24.8 damage to a level 2 vest. You'll do more damage than that to someone's arms or legs. So that means in CQC, this gun's always going to be handy, even when you're fighting people in level 3 gear. And that's really, really important. The balancing thing here with the Tommy gun is that its rate of fire is also very much like an M416's rate of fire. Slightly faster, but it has a whopping 43 base damage, which is the highest of any SMG. And that combo really gives you some flexibility. Look at it this way. When you're running a Tommy gun, you have enough ammunition in your gun to both knock a target, thirst a target, and knock another target without reloading. Hell, if you're running Tommy gun and an AR, then you have enough to clear a squad in one clip of your Tommy and one clip of your AR. And that's something you can't say about all SMGs. The Uzi has much faster rate of fire and a much lower base damage. It has 1,134 rounds per minute, which just frustrates me often because I will clear a target and immediately need to reload, or it'll take me a whole clip to clear a target. The Tommy, you don't have that issue. You were able to dance around and really get a lot of mileage out of that non-reload. I actually quite like the fact that its rate of fire is where it... I'd rather have this rate of fire and a high base damage round than this
I didn't see where that came from.
really fast Tommy gun kind of thing with a lower base damage round like the UMP. I prefer the Tommy right now to the UMP as much as people love the UMP because the Tommy just has a little bit more in its oomph. It's got a slightly longer, a slightly more damaging round, slightly higher limb damage, and a much bigger magazine capacity. And for me, I don't use the Tommy unless I'm running an AR with it. That's generally my rule of thumb. So if I'm running an AR, I've already got a gun that I'm using for ADS and for longer range engagements. This thing is purely like for the CQC and the hipfire and the close range. And for that, I want maximum ammo loadout. And the Tommy gives me that. It's been a long time since I did a Tommy gun review, and it's been a long time since I ran it a lot. And what I found was that I decided I was going to do a review of this gun, so I started running it again. And situations like this guy's I've played this against this Daniel guy a lot. He's a conqueror on the North American server. Good player. And I reckon I won that one with the Tommy gun's hipfire because I certainly didn't win it with my 180 ping and my potato skills. That's just a gun that has really good base damage and really good limb damage coupled with a very easy recoil profile. And don't kid yourself. it is a traditional SMG in the sense that it doesn't have a bad recoil profile. SMG's recoil profiles are really good, and the Tommy gun is no exception. What I found was the more I ran it, the more I liked it. And the more I ran it, the more I won, which is the exact opposite to the experience I had with both the Uzi and to a lesser extent the Bison, which has got a video coming up very, very shortly. I'm still not convinced one way or another on the Bison because, this is for another video, because the thing that I have an issue with on the Bison is bullet speed and meta. And I need to run it a little bit more to feel comfortable with the weapon and get a really good idea on where it sits. Anyway, enough about the Bison. Back to the Tommy gun. One of the reasons you won't see this gun as often as you used to see it is just there's a lot more crate weapons in the game. Crate weapons, once upon a time, were hard to come by. Airdrops were contested heavily, and they were the only way to find a crate weapon. Nowadays, you can get guaranteed flare drops at Rapunzel's. You can buy flare drops out of shops. You get a lot more double drops these days. And if you're doing event modes, there's even more access to crate weapons. Because of this, I generally end up starting with a Tommy gun or something along those lines and finishing with something else. And that's not a knock on the Tommy gun. It's more about the fact that there are just the best weapons in the game, which are meant to be the best weapons in the game, available more readily than they used to be. Now let's address the elephant in the room. What's the Tommy gun like compared to the UMP? Well, I'm going to do a UMP video in the not too distant future, but I don't think it's a lot to let the cat out of the bag to say that the UMP and the Tommy gun are extraordinarily similar weapons. For all the fact that the UMP gets the lion's share of the press and the fancier skins, I don't see more than a struck match between them. And both have very simple tools that differentiate them. And for me, the Tommy gun's in the same class and the same league as the UMP. I never noticed that huge a difference in terms of the Tommy gun's hipfire, and the Tommy gun's iron sights are good. But I also was really pleasantly surprised by how accurately I could use the Tommy gun with a red dot and out to the kind of ranges that, well, I really didn't expect it to be anything like that. And this is one of the things I love about my job, my YouTubing job, is that I get to play the game from a different perspective. I don't just roll in there and try and win chicken dinners. I roll in there and use different weapons to discover whether there's any magic to them. And quite often, it makes me a better player. It makes me at least a different player, and it makes me understand the weapons correctly. And I would highly recommend that if you're looking at a gun like the Tommy and you're just shaking your head because you never really given it a shot, you should. Fighting against someone using a weapon is a lot easier when you've gotten used to using the weapon yourself. And the Tommy gun is very much one of those guns. Now, obviously, you need an extended SMG magazine to make it work to its maximum potential. And I mean, you get in situations like this where I've been running the Tommy and you can't find anywhere. You can't find an extended SMG mag. Like, it's not happening. The Tommy gun, it's not going to be a 50-round Chicago typewriter. It's just going to be a 30-round UMP clone. That's fine. It still works. It's just not working to its full potential. I can strongly recommend the Tommy gun. And I think if you give it a shot, you're going to be really pleasantly surprised. I know a lot of people don't understand what's so good about these guns, the SMGs. For me, the Tommy is the great bridge between ARs and SMGs. And there'll be a lot more videos coming about the SMGs. We're going to do a ranking overall as well with the ARs and the SMGs, and those vids are going to drop next week. So if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing and sticking around for that kind of content, then maybe you'll come up a winner and a happy camper. I'm Bushka. You're the humans. Look after yourselves. Stay safe on the battlefield. And as always, bye for now.